Hello and warm welcome to Big Talk live from Nigeria's seat of power, Abuja. My name is Adika Michael. A lot of developments in respect to today from the early hours, just barely 24 hours after his inauguration. President Trump has been taking a lot of decisive move at the United States of America in his resumption as the 47th president of U.S. A lot of reactions over his executive, some of his executive orders as well, which many people in the world are still keeping their eyes open to know the direction and the side the U.S. under Donald Trump will be taking for the next 4 years. They have also threatened some actions to withdraw from the World Health Organization, in which is still troubling to many leaders, especially many within the health sectors, in respect to what this means if the U.S. pulls out completely from the World Health Organization. A lot of executive orders that the President Trump has taken just, I wouldn't say 48 hours or 24 hours after just being sworn into office as the President of the U.S. That is still a concern to the rest of the world and not just for the people of America. Back home here in Abuja, recall that the president had returned back to the country and call it the first meeting over his return. He has been able to secure some meetings with Ogoni leaders over the oil exploration issues. In attendance were the former governor of Rivers State, Wike was in attendance, and a whole lot of national government officials like the National Security Advisor, Malam Ribadu, who of course was behind the convening of this meeting, who had all the senators from the state as well also joining the meeting. The meeting was to discuss the important development in Ogoni, including economic activities in the place, which there are a lot of persons that were hoping to look at a better outcome for all issues of all crises and problems within that environment. What really has drawn the attention of many is the fact that the picture we are having from emerging from the Aso Villa as it that Fubara was standing side with the president and the minister of the Federal Capital Territory, in which was kind of unique, and in a way many have also raised questions if issues of the political crisis in Rivers State was well considered as part of the agenda of that meeting. We are here to really have a confirmation on what was the resolutions, the outcome, the contribution, and if this signals that the president is aware of all the crises in Rivers State. And as the #1 citizen of this country, he has also wedged into that fight to see how he can resolve the issues within the Rivers State and just to bring peace towards that region. All of that is a concern, and tonight we'll be highlighting on that development on the show. Serap has given President Tinubu 48 hours to reverse the telecom tariff hike. They has also threatened that Mr. President should have a consideration that failure to do so, but this administration means that they will be charging cuts. Recall that this present administration and telecoms are having a concern over increase in calls and data costs because they've actually come up with a 50% tariff hike. And the government, Serap are also kicking many persons in Nigeria also criticizing these issues, and Serap are coming out very clearly to ask of withdrawal and a reversal of that, which is still a major development in the course of the nation's interaction. But most especially, what really tonight on the show will be explained as a development that comes from the issues of Rivers State, the concern of about getting the governors right. And now that the president has to have a meeting with the former governor of Rivers State and now the FCT minister Wike and Governor Simile Fubara, with all of these issues, in which those are having a concern that it has taken too long to continue to hold as a fight, political fight, crisis that has really been very disturbing as far as Rivers State is concerned. That we'll be discussing on the show tonight. And of course, we'll also beam a searchlight to the activities of EFCC, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. It looks at a lot of concern as to the operations, the arrest, in which has been very disturbing over the incident that happened over the last weekend, in which led to the loss of an official life at the course of duty. That those that are relevant are concerned. What are the modus operandi of the EFCC? How do EFCC operate? How do they get to arrest? How do they get to carry out their lawful responsibility? How do we also have a concern that they have raised that internet fraudsters are now carrying guns in Nigeria? This is coming from EFCC. That raising that concern that the internet fraudsters are carrying guns in the country. That's the incident that have claimed the life of one of the officials in Anambra State has continued to draw attentions, and many persons said, would have this been averted? Would have this been well managed? Because a life have been lost at the cause of this. Tonight, a legal practitioner will also be joining us on the show to give us some concern. How better way would EFCC continue to carry out their responsibility of fighting the corruption and the issues and challenges we're having in this country, which is still very troubling at the cause of the nation. Everyone, tonight will now begin with the issues from Rivers State as we'll continue to look at those aspects. Development coming from Rivers State. A lot of concern how the president is already having a side talk with former Governor Wike and Fubara. Where would this bring peace to Rivers State? Which is still the ears of many Nigerians are paying attention to that outcome of that meeting. I'm being joined by a political commentator, Okpanachi Jacob. He joins us live here from Abuja here, virtually tonight on the show. Thanks so much, Comrade Jacob, for joining us, even with the very short notice. How did you really make out from this meeting? Is this a political meeting? Because the last time we had this meeting was when the president called for peace at the initial stage of the crisis of Rivers State. Would you say a year after, the president has also had a meeting with Wike, former Governor Wike and Fubara? Would you say that this is in a move to restore peace in Rivers State? Trying to get Mr. Jacob, I think some connections right there. Please work to sort out that so that we can actually get these conversations started. If you could hear me, what is your reaction about the meeting with the president? Ogoni leaders, that said, is issues of all, but that those are reading some political meanings to all of that.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Like I said, the most interesting thing is that there's a path towards peace building in Rivers State. And this is necessary for the development of Rivers State, as it is important to the economy of Nigeria. Rivers State is one of the largest revenue earner in our country. And leaving it to remain in this gruesome trouble that it has been going through since the inception of this government will mean a loss of setback for the administration. And I think, most importantly, there is an effort from government to ensure that peace is restored. In all, the most other sacrosanct thing to do is to ensure that the governor is given room to perform. You can see that amidst all this crisis, he has invested effort in stepping forward in making a better life for the citizens of Rivers State. However, that is not enough until absolute peace is enjoyed in the state.
I mean, those are really having more concern. Yes, the president has been quiet for some time in respect to the crisis in Rivers. A lot of court orders, litigation. Some said the House of Assembly is not in order. The governor is going ahead presenting budget. I mean, this is the second budget the governor has presented to that House of Assembly. away from the crisis of oil, which that those I would say that was really at the top of the agenda, in which we are also reading some concern that it looks at there were a lot of political also consideration, because if we have the those that said is a former governor Wike also of Ogoni, would that also mean for him to also be part of the meeting, or is he attended the meeting as the FCT minister, or is aware of chatting a peace talk? Would you feel that the judiciary can get to settle the political differences in Rivers State, for your opinion?
Well, I think it's proper that Wike should sheath his sword and allow peace to reign in Rivers State. He has been given a responsibility. I think it will be too much on him to be able to manage FCT and still carry on in the struggles of Rivers State as it were. Of course, in his time, I don't think the things that the former governor or the governor that left before him did up to this, before he fought him to a standstill. And if you look at it, Wike is having too many battles on his hand. Almost all the former governor and the stakeholders of Rivers State are at loggerhead with Wike. So I think while I admire his tilt and his openness towards administrative engagements, it is proper that his political attendance should be given some polishing. You cannot continue to fight this battle. It's not a battle for him to continue in, because Rivers State, as we know, like I have said, is a large revenue earner. And anybody that sits on the seat of governorship in Rivers State has the right to be given the peace of mind to run the state, as development is key to Rivers. And like I had earlier said, the development of Rivers is still the development of Nigeria, because every component state of Nigeria owes Nigeria the duty of ensuring that we are one. And that unity cannot come if Wike, as a former governor, continues in this strait with the sitting governor. I think they should put the people of Rivers first, not their personal interest. The political year is gone, and we are now into governance. Let Fubara have the chance to govern his people. And to talk about the litigations and counter litigations, everybody knows what is happening. Once the key stakeholders that are at loggerhead sheath their sword, all these litigations will just abruptly come to an end, and there will be peace in Rivers State. I think it is proper that the president should call more on Wike to tell him that the responsibility to hold Wike, FCT, is more onus on him than to continue his dual position of leading Rivers State and leading FCT. And besides, it is open that this is just an engagement of the politics of 2027. No other thing apart from that. And until we are able to put Nigerians first than politics, I don't think we are going to make a move forward in this whole cycle of problems and counter problems from Rivers State.
So would you say that the haste by which, there was a court order restraining allocation to Rivers State, in which, it has also been put aside by a subsequent court order. A lot of people were saying, it was dangerous for the court to give such a judgment at stopping allocation to Rivers State. Because when you look at the ongoing energy crisis occasioned by the failed subsidy removal of this government, and those that are paying attention to the role Rivers State will play, you've also seen that there have been a delay, or would you say total abandonment of the oil exploration within the Ogoni and some of the regions in that Rivers State. In a way, how important was and is this meeting in terms of adding to our value of the oil and the energy sector?
Of course, amidst crisis, there cannot be progress. Until all these are resolved, the progress we are making is insignificant to what should be. It is just a makeshift arrangement to make it look as if there is a progress. However, I condemn in totality the stopping of allocation to Rivers State. We all are here in Nigeria when former President General Olusegun Obasanjo retired, stopped allocation to Lagos State for one reason or the other. And Nigerians rose and kicked against it. If the president, who was the governor of Lagos State as at when that happened, allows this to happen under him, It is unfair to the Rivers people that this is happening. You cannot suffer the totality of millions of citizens of Rivers over a fight between a Wike and the sitting governor. The governor should be given room to be able to administer his governance effectively without any hindrance. If you want to make his government unpopular, allow him to fail in his own wisdom of leading his people, not to be able to engage him through state apparatus by ensuring that he does not perform his duty by making him divested of funds. If you stop allocation to, of course, despite that, you can see that the governor even announced a new minimum wage for the civil servants. But you can't say or judge the growth of a people by the civil servant standard. How many people are in the civil service in Rivers State? He will need more money to be able to run Rivers State as it were. But if you do not give him room and give him the needed allocation for him to run his state, I think it is a disservice to the peoples of River. And this will count against the progress of the politics of 2027, which is seemingly the basis for this cycle of crisis that we have been having in River State. I think what is important now is that they should come to a round table. There is no war that does not end on round table. Just recently, peace talk have been ensued in between the Hamas and the Israeli government. And we can see there is a ceasefire. If a fight that have gone to that level of conflagration have been able to be doused by a peace talk more of a state and in two individuals of that state. It is not too much for anybody to come to a round table for a peace talk to be ensued. And if that peace talk is ensued, I think the people of River are going to benefit more than they are benefiting now with respect to government allocation, with respect to performance from the governor, with respect to peace in the state. I think it is important that government should look inward with introspect to understand that the continuous crisis in Rivers State cannot bring benefit to the people of Rivers, neither will it bring any benefit to the polity of 2027 like it has been adduced to be the reasons for this early fight in Rivers State.
All of this is setting precedent for other states, because those are said other states are watching to know how institutions of government, both the presidency and all of those things, are managing this ongoing crisis.
Yes, the precedence is setting is a bad precedence. Bad precedence in the sense that any person can come up tomorrow and start fighting their governor in an unjust cause. I will be given the leverage to be able to stampede the progress of the state without recourse to the people. It have now returned governance to an individualistic affair where two people's engagement will affect the entire millions that live in that state. Of course, you are all aware that Rivers State is one of the greatest revenue earner in Nigeria. And with this, I think it will affect the serenity of the area, leading to a retarded growth of peace as should be welcomed in the state. But however, a peace process, if engaged, will set the precedence for other states to be able to manage their affair without letting it go down into crisis as it is in Rivers State. Nigeria is a country of pair engagement. When they see that this has become a norm in Rivers State, other states may follow suit. And before you know, we'll reduce the political affair of each state of Nigeria to just a mercantile engagement where the people, the actors, are the ones to decide what happens to the entire masses of each of the states that are involved.
All right, Mr. Jacob, I want to say thank you so much for jumping in and joining us and giving us some perspective. We are first tracking that development and ensuring that our peace is being still sustain a river state and, of course, the Niger Delta region in a bid to continue to secure the oil. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and have a good evening.
All right, everyone. That's, of course, looking at the latest development coming from the presidency in respect to issues of the president also intervening in the crisis in Rivers State. There has been a lot of concern, though those are few that we cannot talk of peace if all of these move both by government, the actions of the presidency, the institutions of government are not in any way having some cooperations with the government of the day, which is led by Governor Siminalayi Fubara. And that's why the president needed to have that meeting to see how they can continue to boost the oil and energy sector, which is important. The president had that meeting in the presence of the National Security Advisor, the Chief of Staff to the president was also in attendance. The NNPC chairman was also in attendance as well. So powerful delegation from Ogoni leaders who were all in attendance in the bid to continue to have negotiation towards getting to resolve the crisis belongs to the Ogoni areas and those facilities that have been abandoned over the resumption of the oil issues of the oil exploitation. All of that point to the fact that Nigeria is still finding the path to seeing how they can get it work, and that also underscore the importance of the grassroots. If the local government autonomy is not fully granted, if the locals are not empowered, that means there will continue to be a lot of concern and crisis, and that's the reason why the Supreme Court gave the judgment to see how allocations can be sent from the federal and not really having to stop within the state, but getting to the grassroots, the local government, that there is a need for the local government administration and institution to function, to begin to function, because issues of internal crisis, issues of those internal problems, grassroots problems can be well addressed at the local government, in which you can also be able to have more economic vibrancy to contribute to the GDP of the nation. There's a need for all hands must be on deck in getting some of these problems solved in our country, Nigeria, and that's the president has taken it as a priority just on its return from the United Arab Emirates to consider that deliberations at that meeting. That is a peaceful and the way to go, and we give kudos to government for that peaceful intervention. We'll now be turning attention to the issues that really, has really put the nation to a lot of concern regards to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. What is the best way for the arrest? A lot of persons said a life has been lost. An officer was shot in the course of that. He is an assistant superintendent of the EFCC who was killed in a cold blood while on a legitimate duty. The EFCC are saying that he was on a legitimate duty, but that those that are having a concern, it looks at, yes, it was on legitimate duty. About the timing, the EFCC got a court order for that arrest, which they said is a suspected internet fraudster, allegedly Joshua Chukwubeze. They have also given that intelligence they got that these criminals are carrying arms involved in kidnapping, banditry, ritual killings, and other deadly acts, and that the public should not fold its hands or allow itself to be deceived into thinking there are merely Yahoo boys and girls. That is coming from the statement of EFCC over the reaction of this sad incident. They also vow that every subsequent attack on any of its officers, the suspect will face the full force of the law. But away from just the statement, the life of these officers that have been lost has really have a concern. But what better way would this been averted? Would have this not been possible? Would have not really witnessed the loss of a life at the cost of EFCC going about the legitimate duty. And for civilians, how did they get to the point of owning gun? What are the requirements of the position of gun and opening fire against government officials? These are the issues and concerns which, of course, tonight a legal practitioner will be helping us to make meaning to all of this concern and a balance to what the law says, and but what better way institutions of government can continue to carry out their legitimate duty. To stick with us on the show, we'll go on a very quick break, everyone, and once we return from that, we'll be looking at that discussion. Thanks for staying with us. Policies and political actors are in the news every day, all day. And on our part, we guide you through the noise and get you to the hearts of the matter. Big Talk is your home of all-angle analysis of the top political stories. Airing weekdays on Global TV, 7 p.m. Big Talk, engaging and insightful. Policies and political actors are in the news every day, all day. And on our part, we guide you through the noise and get you to the hearts of the matter. Big Talk is your home of all-angle analysis of the top political stories. Airing weekdays on Global TV, 7 p.m. Big Talk, engaging and insightful. Policies and political actors are in the news every day, all day. And on our part, we guide you through the noise and get you to the hearts of the matter. Big Talk is your home of all-angle analysis of the top political stories. Airing weekdays on Global TV, 7 p.m. Big Talk, engaging and insightful. policies, and political actors are in the news every day, all day. And on our part, we guide you through the noise and get you to the heart of the matter. Big Talk is your home of all-angle analysis of the top political stories. Airing weekdays on Global TV, 7 p.m. Big Talk, engaging and insightful. Many thanks everyone for still staying with us on the show Big Talk. Along in the early hours of January 17, some officials of EFCC, Economic Financial Crimes Commission, were in operations towards Anambra State, and that led to the loss of a life at the cost of EFCC saying it is at the cost of their legitimate duty. They have also reacted in a couple of segments saying that condemning the false narrative on the loss of the officer and giving some explanation in respect to that. All of that has continued to spark controversies. How can this be well addressed and in future occurrences as well? Tonight I'm being joined by a legal practitioner. Barrister Ewa joins us live here in Abuja to give us an insight on these developments. The extent and the extent by which this has really gone is the fact that a life of an officer have been lost at the cause of this, and that's the extent we are having this conversation. What is a modus operandi of EFCC in respect to visitation, in respect to arrests, and all of that? Give us an understanding about that.
Yeah, good evening. See, actually, may we first proceed by expressing our condolences to the family of the bereaved EFCC official personnel who died in the course of active duty. And of course, we mourn with the nation, we mourn with the agency. That being said, is in section when we want to talk about what actually went down there on Friday, the 17th of January 2025, where the EFCC, in attempt to arrest, raid a suspect's premises, had the suspect open fire on their personnel, leading to the death and injury of one of their personnel, and injury of the other. Now, there are 5 legislations in Nigeria that relate to just that single incident, namely the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the EFCC Act of 2004, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act of 2015, the Police Act of 2020, being that most of the officers who carry out these EFCC or actions are usually police officers on secondment. And finally, I believe for now, the Firearms Act, which will be used regarding the fact that a civilian opened fire on a personnel. Now, going by virtue of Section 33 of the 1995 Constitution, naturally, basically, life is sacred. The fact that no human being can give life may underscores the reason why no human being should take life. So what happened there, the life of that personnel, has been deprived by the suspect. You see, the Section 33 of the Constitution guarantees every person's right to life. However, this guarantee is not absolute. To every right, everywhere in the world, it comes with limitations and duties. So the fact that the Constitution guarantees your right does not make the right absolute. There are limitations to that right, and there are duties also on you to other people and to the law regarding that right. In this regard, Section 33 sub 1 guarantees the right of the EFCC officer and also the right of the suspect whom they were going to arrest. Now, subsection 2 of that section 33 of the Constitution provides that a person's life may be deprived on the use of reasonable force under certain circumstances. It lists them to effect a lawful arrest or to prevent a person under lawful detention from escaping. To protect one from the violence of another or to protect one's property. In this instance, except we have fact and evidence to prove otherwise, the so-called suspect was acting out of reasonable apprehension. Remember, the EFCC raided these premises in the night, or let's say the wee hours of the day. I mean, 3 a.m. is the night. And this is of all the places in the world, in Nigeria, this is the Anambra State that is renowned also.
I want to ask, do EFCC have time limitations? Because the brother said, how do you have to visit in the night, the time of the hour and all of that?
Now, you see, they are saying that it is a sting operation, but if we want to tell ourselves the truth, can the EFCC point to us a provision of the EFCC Act or a provision of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act that defines sting operation? There is none. There is none. Simply none. Now, it would have made sense if there was a warrant of arrest on the suspect. Now, when you read the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, there are so many sections. Section 35, 17, down to 149. Section 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 talks about arrest and search. But one critical element in all of those sections of Administration of Criminal Justice Act and the current Police Act is the requirement of warrant. You can execute a warrant any time of the day, whether Monday or Sunday, whether public holiday or regular day, whether midnight, whether daytime. If it is a warrant issued by the court, the EFCC was not going there with a warrant. They did not go to that premises with a warrant, except because up to today, they've not told the world that they went there to execute a lawful warrant. They said they went there on sting operation. Sting operation is not known to law. It's not. There is no legal definition of sting operation. So when they say they went there on a sting operation, how do you define sting operation? You cannot be the one to define sting operation and execute it. There must be a law. You give yourself guidelines. Those guidelines ought to be under the regulations of the law. You are going on a sting operation in an environment where violent crimes arise, and you think, I am saying that the person does not have ground to have reasonable apprehension to think that he's under attack, to try to defend himself or his property. Those are facts that we need to look into with evidence to see if this man knew that they were EFCC officers and intentionally opened fire on them. But if there is proof, evidence to show that they did not first, in fact, when you're executing such warrant, you have to seek and obtain permission from the owner of the house to enter the house. It is when you have sought permission and the person denies that permission that you are permitted to break into the premises. The law says that you have to identify yourself, the authority under which you are coming, and the purpose for which you are coming. And then you seek permission, and if the person denies you access, it is on that note that you now break in. EFCC so far has not told us that they went through all of these procedures. They are just telling us that they went there to effect a lawful arrest and somebody opened fire on them.
I mean, Barrister,
can really be
in the statement
objective
of
for one.
EFCC, there, of course, alerting the public and warning the public that the activities of internet fraudsters are becoming increasing from their word increasingly hazardous to the public safety and security. That has also pointed towards a question about the arms, position in Nigeria. Because that said, I mean, that is an internet fraudster. He ought not to be with arms. Or what is even the position? What does the law even back up those who have, arms position in Nigeria? Away from the fact that there is a ghastly generalization right here that all the internet fraudsters are increasingly having, having a position of arms which is hazardous to the public safety and security.
Now, the EFCC wants us to believe that they went on a sting operation and they are arrested over 20 internet fraudsters that same night. Now, if out of 20 or 30 internet fraudsters that they arrested, only one of them was armed, does that percentage count? It does count. It means what they are saying is not true. It would have been different if, as they went to arrest 20 people, 5 or 7 or even 10 were armed. But they have successfully raided a particular location, arresting almost 30 people there. None of them was armed. And then they came to this other place, and only one person is armed. And they are now beginning to use only this singular circumstance now to say that people who carry out what do you call it, white collar crime, internet fraudsters, are armed, which is not true. They are being economical with the truth. 1, 2, they are playing on emotional intelligence. But very fundamentally, where did EFCC go to? This is Anambra State. We are all living in Nigeria. We know the rate of crime in Anambra State. We know what is happening in the southeastern part of Nigeria. And so, if a reasonable man hears that someone in Anambra State is armed to protect himself, will the reasonable man be surprised? No, because we know what happens in a place like Anambra State on a daily basis. It's not new. Now, that is speaking on fact. Now, speaking on law, Firearms Act of Nigeria and Robbery and Firearms Act defines how persons and which persons and the procedure to obtain firearms, the kind of firearms that one can obtain, and with licenses. Section 345 of Firearms Act defines these things. And so, to shotgun, the handgun or shotgun, whichever that we said taught per use, is within the definition of personal firearms. There are 3 categories of firearms that the law defines. Prohibited firearms. Prohibited firearms under Section 3, the license can only be issued by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria at his discretion. It's like pistols, rifles, grenades. Only the President can issue that license, subject to his discretion. Section 4, personal firearms. That is where this handgun or shotguns come in, as defined by Part 2 of the schedule to that law. This one, the Inspector General of Police has the powers to issue these licenses based on the rules and principles laid down by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The 3rd category of guns that Nigerians, people in Nigeria, citizens of Nigeria are entitled to, not of right anyway, because it's discretional, is muzzle loading firearm. The ones that gain guns, hunter guns, those ones, the Commissioner of Police and the state government of the state work in collaboration to issue licenses for those guns. So these are categories of guns under Section 3 of the Firearms Act that defines grant of license for firearms. And so within this purview of the law, the firearm that man used is within the definition of the law as personal firearms. The question
all right
now is, did he possess the license for it. Now you must understand that the fact that he possessed or did not possess fire license for it does not in any way affect what he has done. You have to understand that to some extent. Why do I say so? The condition does not say that you should use licensed gun or licensed weapon to protect yourself. The condition says reasonable force. So the fact that he possessed firearms without license, he will be charged separately for illegal possession of firearms.
All right, so because of time, and now, I mean, we've also seen that that those that are having a concern that a life have been lost. How would have this been prevented? Two, what are your recommendations in terms of enhancing EFCC capacity and professionalism? Because governors were saying the other time they should abolish EFCC. EFCC are not working, and all of those are concerned. Which Nigeria said, look, that is the only anti-graft agency we should continue to rely on. What are your recommendations moving forward before we wrap up, please?
No, I do not, first and foremost, I do not agree with the agitation that EFCC should be scrapped. No. However, the law, the EFCC Act, has to be refined, reviewed. That law was passed in 2004. This is 21 years after the EFCC was established and the law was enacted, and the law has not been reviewed to meet global standards and current realities. A child that was born in 2004 has graduated from the university today, is an adult, has passed through different stages, teenager, adolescent, adult, went to nursery school, primary school, secondary school, university. A law that was passed in 2004, 21 years after, has not been reviewed. It has to be revisited so that we now align the practices of the EFCC with global standards. That is what I have to say. And then we have also to train them on professionalism. See, going to raid a suspect of white collar offense is sincerely an embarrassment to our law enforcement. The way they go in Gestapo style. Robberies are happening every day in Nigeria. Law enforcement agencies are not showing such force. Something has to be looked into. And even when they do this, I'm a lawyer. I go to court every day. I go to their offices every day. 80% of the people they raid and arrest in this style, they at the end of the day let go because they don't have anything tangible to hold them in court. So why were they even raiding them in the first place? Do you want to go into the percentage of all 20, 50, 100 people EFCC rate? How many of them do EFCC successfully, professionally prosecute to a successful end? The percentage is not up to 30. So why were you raiding them like that?
All right. Thanks so much, Barrister Ewa. It's a developing story, and of course, EFCC has spoken. We'll continue to track that development. Of course, we'll have you again to give more insight to how that development get to proceed. Thanks so much for sparing some of your evening with us and giving us an insight on some legal grounds and concern surrounding that matters. Thank you so much.
You're always welcome, my brother.
That's, of course, a major concern because EFCC statement has tried to explain that the Commission was on the preliminary investigations, and of all of those concerns they have given, they added that 2 laptops, iPads, and several recording devices were recovered from his apartment and his involvement in the internet fraud, which is not really much of the matter. I mean, the law has a way of explaining that. The loss of life of an officer has been a concern. Would this be prevented? Would have this been prevented if they had professionally carried out the duty? What are the grounds? What are the processes that are the concern? Moving forward, because it shouldn't get to a point where, I mean, the civilians are now opening fires against EFCC, probably because of the time, the hour, the conditions, or the motive of their coming. That's what the public and Nigerians are having a concern, that EFCC must pay attention to professionalism moving forward and carrying out the arrests and all of those, and intelligence report as well, with a lot of investigation and having received the processes before carried out the actions already in our environment. Now, there's also been a concern that tariff increase in the telecom sector with over 50% announced by SEC has continued to cause controversy. A study request, we will continue to look at that subsequently on the program. What are the impact of this increase? How much are we getting it today? What are the services? Are the services good? Are Nigerians satisfied with the services of the telecom? Now that we have 50% increase, what does it mean to the population? Would government also see what they would have done? Would have they arrested this situation? If the telecom sector are complaining over energy, what attention should be paid towards this aspect? If they're paying attention to vandalism, which has to do with security aspect, all of that should be what we'll be considering subsequently on the show, Big Talk, of course, to try to understand the impact of this 50% increase on the population. Thanks so much for joining us on the show tonight. This is where we close the curtain and wrap it up on the show. See you again. My name is Edikan Michael.